And finally, the last multiple choice question for Unit 1, finding an inverse function. Now, depending on your version of the key, not the key, but your version of the study guide, this answer C there might not have had that cube on the x. It needs to have the cube on the x because that is the answer to this question. But let's make sure we get the answer to that question. So first off, you need to know what this wants. This wants the inverse function, f negative 1 of x. That means f inverse of x. The big idea with inverse functions is that you swap x and y. So you should rewrite this as x equals 2 times the cube root of y plus 1. And now what we need to do is we need to solve for y. So the first move that I would do would be to divide everything by 2 because we want to get rid of that 2 right there. So divide everything by 2 and we will get x over 2 equals the cube root of a y plus a 1. And we want y, and y is stuck inside that pesky cube root. So how do we get rid of it? We cube both sides. So x over 2 cubed equals y plus 1. Last step to solve for y would be to subtract 1. So y equals x over 2 cubed minus 1. And you're like, yay, I did it, I found my inverse. And then you look at the answers and you're like, crap, none of those are correct. So if you are quick to jump to conclusions or answers, you might look at this and be like, oh, that's totally the same thing because I see a cube, I see a 2 in the bottom, and I see a minus 1. No, dude, sorry, that is not the same thing because this 2 being inside the parentheses of something that is cubed means that really what we have here is y equals x cubed over 2 cubed minus 1. Which means we really have y equals x cubed over 2 cubed is 8 minus 1. So I have an 8 in the bottom there. A better way to write this maybe would be to write it as 1/8 times x cubed minus 1. Yes, that is totally legal. You need to learn how to do fractions. That is 100% allowed. And now you look and say, all right, so where's this answer? And you see an x cubed minus 1, and you're like, sweet, there's my answer. But no, that says 8, not 1/8. So you're again like, crap. Well, it can't be that. Can't be that. It can't be that. So it has to be that. But how is it that? Well, I've factored. I have factored out a 1/8. What's left behind in that first term? It is an x cubed. What's left behind in that last term? Well, factoring is like dividing. If I factor a 1/8 out of a negative 1, it means I've taken that negative 1 and I have divided it by 1/8. Dividing by 1/8 is like multiplying by 8, so that gives me a minus 8 right there. Look at it this way. If I multiply that 1/8 into the negative 8, I would get negative 1, which is what I need. So that is my answer right there. It is very, very common for you to get an answer and then not see that answer as a multiple choice option because it's written in a different form. So you need to be comfortable factoring things and rewriting things to try and find an equivalent form. There you go.